Welcome back to Be a Better Baddie. My name is Quenisha, and I'm your host, coach, teacher, and fellow baddie. Today we're talking about revisiting your goals or setting new goals. It is March. We are entering the season of spring, and I am willing to bet if you set some goals in January, you probably fell off already. And no shade. You probably forgot about that goal. You probably don't even want to work on that goal anymore, right? Many things could have happened. If that is your case, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. A lot of us are feeling like that. I felt like that. That's one of the big themes of the Better Baddie experience that I had in late February. We were able to set new goals to work towards in the spring season. So before I go further into today's content, I want to do a little housekeeping, a little logistics, dare I say. Today is the first of the month. Podcast episodes will come out on the first of the month. That will cover our big theme of the month, right? Or our big concept. I was not in love with the idea of constantly pumping out content and not feeling like people had time to digest what I just said last week. Because I know how I listen to podcasts, especially podcasts similar to mine, where you get some content, you may have an action item that you need to work on, and sometimes you just need time to incorporate that. Moving forward, every month I will have this one meaty podcast that has like our large theme of the month and that little action you're working on as well. And then I'll have a second podcast, and I'm still working out what that looks like, but this month for sure I'm doing listener Q&A. So I already have a couple of questions. If you have questions for me that you want me to address or speak on in that second episode, please let me know. You can email it to me. If you do email me, I really appreciate it because you went through all of the steps. But if you're listening on Spotify, just leave the question in the comments. If you follow me on Instagram at Be a Better Baddie, just DM it to me. I'll also put up a story at some point where you could respond to that. So there are multiple ways to get this question to me, right? If I see the question before I record the episode, I'll be addressing it. Let's jump into our episode. So there is this pressure that comes with the month of January, and it's cultural, it's in our marketing, it's everywhere. There's this novelty factor of us entering a new year. So we have to be these new, fresh versions of ourselves. And that's really not the case for January. Like, I've experienced a couple Januaries in my lifetime, and January has never been like the perfect month for me to start something new, ease into a new routine, or just incorporate anything new. I get the novelty factor. Whenever we get something new, we want to try to be perfect with it. We want to treat it well. We want to make sure we preserve it. We want to make sure we keep it for as long as possible. I laugh when I see this. When my nephew gets a new pair of shoes, he'll walk a certain way because he doesn't want to crease them. But that's not the way he really walks, right? So when we set goals in January, we are walking like we don't want to crease our shoes. But in fact, when we walk, we crease our shoes. So we're not really being our authentic selves in January. Furthermore, the reason we cannot finally just show up as this perfect version of ourselves on January 1st is because we're coming down from the holidays. Like, holiday season is busy. I know in my case, like either I'm traveling or my family's traveling here. You have clutter around your house. You just opened gifts. There's a bunch of food in the house that you don't necessarily consider perfect. There's a lot going on in the house. It is hard for you to then say, okay, now I am going to jump into this ideal version of my life or start pursuing this ideal life. But the marketing around January makes us feel like, no, we have to be perfect right now. And if you think about it, like, spring is the time of renewal. Outside is reawakening. The trees are starting to grow. The flowers are starting to bloom. In January, our days are shorter. It's colder outside. Most of us have been off work for 2 weeks or more. and we are just jumping back into our normal routine. So we have not even reestablished ourselves. You're not in your normal sense of being, you're not in your routine. Then you come together, you set these goals, and that's not coming from an authentic place. Now, I will tell you what I still do in January, and I still think this is good. Having that high level vision for yourself. January still does come with this sense of a fresh start just because it's a new year, right? You're closing one chapter, you're opening another. I actually have no problem with vision boarding if you like that. I like to write a letter to my future self to open at the end of that year. I don't have a problem with that big dream, that big picture goal setting. It's okay for you to think as big as possible right then and there, because that then does give you a little extra to move through January. You know you're struggling, but by middle of February, you're ready to get it together. In this episode, I am going to give you 4 things that you can do in about an hour to successfully reset or set goals that matter to you and that you will achieve in the next 12 weeks. You're probably wondering, well, Quenisha, what is the 12-week year? Why are we saying 12 weeks? I'm glad you're asking that. The 12-week year is a productivity and goal setting system that frames 12 weeks as a year. The reason they do this is to encourage urgency around your goals, clarity, and momentum, because 12 weeks is long enough for you to see results, and it's also short enough for you to stay focused. When we set goals for the entire 12-month year, honestly, you forget about it. Unless you are really on it, you are tracking like crazy, like you're super focused, you forget about those goals because 12 months is so long to work towards something. You need to break it up into shorter stints so that you can actually see progress and feel motivated about keep going, because baby, motivation for 12 months? No, ma'am. That's not gonna work. I did not invent this concept. It is based on a book, which I'll link, but 12-week year, you can just Google it right now. I highly recommend. Easy read, easy listen as well. I have the physical book and I have the audiobook. That is the system we are going to be using. Now let's jump into the 4 things that you can do to set goals that work for you and that you will achieve in the next 12 weeks. Number 1 is to pick 1 to 3 goals that you want to work on for the next 12 weeks. Less is more. You do not need to do 3 goals by any means, especially if you have one goal that's pretty lofty and it'll flow into other parts of your life. So I know for me, whenever I'm really focused on something, I will automatically get it together, for lack of a better word. I'll be more concrete. One of my goals initially was to tighten up my morning routine. Since I've started working from home, like my morning routine has been suffering, not really consistent, because I don't have anywhere to go. I don't need to leave the house. There's no sense of a clear set deadline for me. So everything just kind of flows together. Another one of my goals was to plan my next Better Baddie experience, to plan it and host it within the next 12 weeks. I know that I have really good ideas in the morning and I want to give my Better Baddie experience planning my best self. So I know I need to wake up earlier in the morning and do other things so that I can plan. Therefore, I don't really need to focus on my morning routine, because me saying that I want to plan this event means that I'm going to get my mornings together. Does that make sense? So the event planning was a very high impact goal, and it flows into other parts of my life, and it speaks to why less is more. Now, in terms of writing your goals, I don't like SMART goals. Every time someone frames a SMART goal, I just die a little in the inside. And what I'm going to offer isn't that much different, but it just sounds better. Your goals do need to be specific, especially if you want to achieve them. Nothing says I'm looking for failure more than a vague goal. Because if you can't identify what success looks like in the end, you essentially do not have a goal. You don't have an end point. Like, let's be for real. A successful goal definitely has the what and the when. The what and the when. I know by the end of the 12 weeks, my goal is to plan and host my next Better Baddie experience. Another example, By the end of 12 weeks, I will reorganize my home office to make it feel more cozy and comfortable. Second part of the goal is the how. How are you going to do this? That's the most important part. I've talked about like this brick wall analogy before, where it's like our goal is this entire brick wall, but to build that brick wall, you have to put up individual bricks and you have to like lay the cement and you have to put things in place. And you don't start from the top of the brick wall, you start from the bottom of the brick wall and you build your way up. So this is your how. What are those steps that you actually need to complete to achieve that goal? And I want you to write out everything. I am a lover of sticky notes. Get a sticky note and write an action on each of them. I like very tactile things. Write out every single action. So I know when I'm planning my next Better Baddie experience, I want to first reflect on the experience on my own. Think back to the first one, what I did well, what I want to do better next time, what I don't want to do at all. I also have feedback from the participants to review to help inform the next event as well. I know I need to create a better marketing plan because marketing was very last minute for the last event. And if you are going to invest money into something, you need to make sure that the people know about it. You are going to write out all these action items and you're going to choose the most high impact ones that you're going to work towards in the next 12 weeks because you won't probably do all of them. If you're not excited about the goal, then you are not going to do it. Why would you spend time doing something that you absolutely hate? You wouldn't. So if none of this feels exciting, go back to step one. After you have all of those action items written out, you're going to assign them a deadline. My planning of the next event, reviewing feedback, that's all due week one. Week one, I should be able to have some synthesis of all of the feedback. Week two, I should be able to build out an outline for the content, like how I want to change the content in the next 12-week planning series. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I am going to assign a deadline to each action item, and I'm going to assign that deadline by week. So remember, we have a 12-week year. What are you going to complete by week one, week two, week three, week four, so on and so on. Step three is to plan out each week. Now, this is where the consistency comes in. Every week, you need to create a plan for what you are going to work on. And you're going to use your systems that work for you. If you don't have a system, you got to figure out what works for you. I like a checklist. I will write down things I need to do on particular days, and that is how it gets done. You need to plan out each week. On top of that, you need to reflect on your progress from the previous week. The authors of the book say that if you complete at least 80 or 85% of the task that you assign to yourself, you are more likely to achieve your 12-week goal. Carve out time every Sunday to plan and reflect on the following week. The fourth thing is to get an accountability buddy. The accountability piece is so important, and it's not that someone's making you do something. It's the fact that you are saying you're going to do something and someone knows you said you're going to do it, and you need to keep that promise to yourself. Setting goals with the women at the Better Baddie experience was such a powerful experience because when everyone said their goals out loud, there was an energy shift because now there was a sense of accountability triggered in all of us, because you don't want to stand up in front of a group of people and say, I want to work on XYZ, and then you end up not keeping that promise to yourself. Like that's not what we are doing, right? This system is to help you stay accountable to yourself, keeping promises that you make to yourself. We also have a group chat where we're updating each other on our progress, and honestly, the baddies are going to continue to thrive and grow. Today is Sunday, so we are all sending in updates about our progress from the last week and what we're planning to do for the next week. And it's not that any of us are like saying, oh, you falling off, girl. That's not the purpose, right? I cannot make you do anything that you do not want to do. The act of saying it out loud, the act of reflecting, that is what's going to hold you accountable. After that first event, I feel so motivated to keep creating spaces for women to continue to build community and take care of themselves and set these ambitious goals. I am available for questions. If I said something you're like, huh? What does that mean? Let me know. Again, Spotify comments, email, DM, comment on an Instagram post. I'm here. And I will see you all in the next one. Make sure you set some time aside to do these things. You do not want to be always learning, taking in information and doing nothing with it. Don't do that. So I will see you guys in the next one. Until then, I hope you have a positively productive, self-loving day. Bye.